Good afternoon and welcome here to the Loyalist College Gymnasium for another OCAA volleyball game, the first of 2018 for the men's. Women's coming off a big 3-set win over the George Brown Huskies, and the men looking to do the same. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brock Armand. With me is Jody Mitchell of the Loyalist women's team. And Jody, first of all, congratulations on the win. You guys have had a great season so far, but looking forward to the men's game. What do you expect from this men's team? They're 1-8 on the year, so they're sitting last in the East Division, but they're a team that's battled all season.
The boys are fighters. They come out every time. They come out super strong, especially at home, so I'm for sure they'll put on a show for all of us.
Absolutely, and we mentioned off air, they keep going to 5 sets, but they just, especially early on in the season, but they just can't seem to pull off victories, but they do have one this season. George Brown, meantime, is 7-2, so they're second place in the East Division. And George Brown, what do you expect from them going into this one?
George Brown is a very technical team. They don't make a lot of silly mistakes. I'm for sure they're going to fight really hard in our home gym here, but I don't know, it's going to be a good one, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, and Loyalist team is being led by Josh Roberts, who has 108 points on the season. He's one of the top offensive catalysts for Chris Jenkins' team. Chris Jenkins is the head coach of the Lancers. And of course, they got Dylan Hayes as well, who's a top player to watch. Hayes is a guy that will be a key piece of this backcourt for Loyalist. And Chris Jenkins is going to be using him as much as humanly possible, because it's going to be a tough game when you got a George Brown team that sits with 7 wins on the season. Loyalists trying to get out of the basement of the East Division, but they're still sitting in a good enough position to make the playoffs. If they go on a nice run to end the year, then they will be sitting in that playoff position. There's still lots of time left in the season. February 14th is the last game, and Loyalists would love nothing more than to come away with a victory here, almost what you consider an upset, and a playoff spot as well. And we get set to go here, and as we get into this contest, Jody, who else is a player to watch? You mentioned Josh Roberts and Dylan Hayes, but who are other players that we should be watching for here for Loyalist?
Number 9, it looks like right now he's actually playing libero, which is different from, but usually he's a front row player, and he swings away.
Absolutely, and at number 9 is Joe Breezy. He has 66 kills on the season, 2.13 kills per set, so pretty decent stats for him. Alex Cox will be another player to watch, number 8 for Loyalist. And on the attack, the Lancers are a team that are fairly strong up top, but once you get past guys like Roberts and Breezy and Hayes and Cox, it starts to thin out a little bit. But for the Lancers, they want to try and definitely take over and put a little bit of a scare into the Huskies, and a good start's obviously important too, I'd imagine.
For sure.
As the Lancers will get their team introduced, their starting lineup. Gabe Van Allen starts out for Loyalist. He's a second year out of Edinburgh, as does Connor McAdams out of Trenton, first year. Alex Cox, Carleton Place, second year, as I mentioned. And Joe Breezy out of Elgin, a 5th-year player, the only 5th-year player on this Loyalist team. Josh Roberts out of Shubenacadie, Nova Scotia, 2nd-year player. Also Dylan Hayes, the middleman, is out there. He's out of Delta, 3rd year. As we're just about set to get underway here from the Loyalist College Gymnasium. Good to have you along with us here on the film television production YouTube channel, Loyalist College Television, as they'll get the handshakes done. Thunder, or rather the Huskies rather, are starting out with a couple of key players. Pradeep Bogal will start out, as will Perry Kumi, both out of Mississauga. Neon Nig from Toronto. Kendrick Gamsaw, one out of Scarborough. And Ray Tantenko out of Pickering, as Gabe Van Allen starts out from the backcourt. Van Allen with the serve right into the net, not the start Loyalist wanted there, but it's still early. That's the first point of the game. It goes to the George Brown Huskies. Tough luck there for Gabe Van Allen, first serve of the game, and you can see he's a little nervous, Jody.
Yeah, a little bit. It's hard to come off the bench like that and just serve right away.
Yeah, absolutely. As a hard serve from Bogal gets up. Dylan Hayes with a huge spike, and he is some kind of fired up after that. Dylan Hayes gets Loyalist their first point of the game. Outstanding job by Hayes, and he is one of the top attackers on this Loyalist team. Here's the toss up and the serve by Josh Roberts, and it's going to go right into the net. So Loyalist with back-to-back faulty serves, and it leads to the visitors getting the early points. So serving for the Huskies will be Tenko. Nice setup there by Roberts. Hayes fakes. There's a nice spike incoming. Nice job by Jimmy Wilding coming off the bench. He's only played in one set this season, and he comes in as a starter here on this Saturday afternoon and gets his first point. Here's Dylan Hayes on the serve. Nice setup. And the Huskies will put that one out, so the Lancers pick up another point. They have a lead, 3-2. Hard spike there from the Husky, but unfortunately it just went out of play. So coming up to serve is Hayes. Nice play by the Huskies there to keep it alive. Nice diving effort by Hayes, gets it back over, but it's out of bounds. Good effort there by Dylan Hayes, unfortunately just out of play. Loyalist is 1-8 on the season, as I mentioned. Their only win came at home. And they're trying to add a second win here and, as mentioned, pull off an upset. Here's a set, nice touch, and back over there with a hard whack, and that was slung right through the middle there by the Husky. And it's a 4-3 George Brown lead. That was Perry Cumia to Mississauga that hammered that one. There's a set by Van Allen, jumping up, and that's going to be blocked and out of bounds. Good work by the Huskies there, but the Lancers get a fourth point. So Jimmy Wilding is going to go back to serve. Wilding. Served up. Huskies try to go for the big spike, and it's going to be inbounds. Just barely, though. Nice job there to hammer that to the far side of the court, and it's 5-4 for George Brown. So shooting will be, or serving rather, will be number 14, Stephen Ramsey, and it's going to result in a point for the Huskies. 6-4, George Brown leads. Serving again will be Ramsey from behind the line. Nice setup there by Roberts. Nice block there, and up in the air it goes. And it's going to be touched by Breezy, but out of bounds, so it's going to be George Brown's point. And Jody, a pretty even start to the game. George Brown starting to expand themselves a little bit, but what have you liked so far from Loyalist?
They have this fight to them when they get their first couple points at home. And the crowd, they feed off of the crowd.
Yeah, and it's a good crowd here today too. Good crowds for both games, as a matter of fact. And it's good to see Loyalist Sports getting supported so well. As Van Allen tosses it up, Cox, nice drive there. That touches the diving Husky, and that's going to lead to a point for Loyalist, 8-5 the score. And Alex Cox will go back to serve. So Cox wearing number 8 in the Loyalist white and red. Spanks it over. One touch, two touch, big spike incoming. Nice block though by Van Allen. Van Allen going up for another block. This one's going to be kept alive. Nice diving effort there. Breezy throws it over. Ramsey sets it up. Long spike incoming. That's blocked. Up in the air it goes again, and nice play there by number 1 for the Huskies, that being Pradeep Bogal. So the Huskies are going to get a chance to reserve again. Here it comes. Breezy touches it first. Van Allen, the toss for Roberts, that's in. And it's a good point for Josh Roberts. As mentioned, the leading scorer on this Loyalist team with 100+ points. And he picks up Loyalist's 6th point of the game so far. Starting out to serve here will be Connor McAdams out of Trenton. Standing 6'5", the tallest player on this Loyalist team. Ramsey with a bit of miscommunication there with his teammate. That was Kendrick Gamsawan, and that's going to be another point for Loyalist. Connor McAdams, a strong serve there, Jody, and he caught Ramsey a little bit by surprise there in the backcourt.
For sure.
Setting up there, there's a nice smash, and Hayes tipped it off his fingers, but that's a good effort there. Unfortunately, he's not going to get a point as they end up tipping it out of bounds. And again, blockers are so important on any team, no matter who you are. And no matter where you sit, blockers can get up and they can keep a play moving for sure. As it's going to be set up here. 3 touches for the Huskies and over. Van Allen, the set, Roberts, the spike. That's blocked again by Bogal. Up with it and a long stretch, and that's going to be just out of bounds there. Good effort for Mark Wickerink, actually, number 15. My mistake, I said Jimmy Wilding earlier. It's actually Mark Wickerink wearing number 15 for Loyalist. And setting up the spike from the right-hand side. There's a nice touch up in the air. Tough play for Ramsey, but he keeps it alive, and it's over. On the reverse, Van Allen, nice whack there by Hayes. That's out of bounds, though. Tough luck for Dylan Hayes. He was aiming for that far corner and just missed.
Dylan is so powerful. When he goes up for that approach, there is so much power behind it.
Yeah, he's got that big windmill that he just gets his arm up and just fires it off. And here he is again. This time it'll be good. He spikes it right down, and it catches number 15, Ahmed Youssef out of Toronto by surprise a little bit. Gabe Van Allen's back to serve as they cycle 1 full rotation around. There's a nice toss up, and is that in? Yes, it is. Gabe Van Allen just squeezed it in. He was hoping that it would be called his way, and it did. So 12-8 the score, 12-9 now. As Van Allen will drop back to serve once more. Up it goes. Nice save. Huskies work it over to the right side. Nice play by Dylan Hayes. Gets his arms in the way of the spike and drops it in to fair territory. So it's Van Allen again. Setting up his serve, 12-10. George Brown leads. The toss up and right into the netting. Another point for Loyalist. 12-11 now the score. They're whittling that deficit down. And you can see the Lancers getting some confidence more and more as this set goes on. Van Allen up over the net. Here's the touch, the spike. Nice save by Breezy. Staying alive. Bogal up and over. That's going to be Loyalist point. They didn't even finish the set. Loyalist has tied it up at 12, and as there's going to be a timeout called by George Brown. What a great job by Loyalist to battle back and tie this set up. And what did you like in the first half from the Lancers?
So far, the boys are killing it. They're coming out really, really strong, and they're not, their biggest flaw, I think, is defense. The ball goes over a couple times, and then they mess up. And this time, they're not letting those little mistakes happen. For sure, they're siding out, which we call. And it's when you get a big dig, and you do it back to them.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And Loyalist is looking pretty good here on this latest stretch of momentum.
Momentum's huge in volleyball. It's like 90% of volleyball.
Absolutely, and we mentioned that in the women's game with Matt and Eric. It's so important to be able to pick up points in quick succession. And once you get 1, you get 2, you get 3, and all of a sudden, it multiplies, and teams can go on huge runs and completely change the course of sets and games around because of that momentum.
Exactly.
And yeah, it's so important, like you said, Jody, as The timeout is getting set to be finished. George Brown called it, so they've used one of 2 timeouts in the set. This is one of a best 3 of 5. Loyalists trying to earn their second victory of the OCAA 2017-18 season. And it'd be a huge upset over the second place George Brown Huskies, who sit at 7-2. Breezy up, Van Allen at Hayes. Nice swat there, but a nice block by Tantenko. Roberts volleys it over, stays in play. Bogal, nice spike there by number 12 on the blue, but couldn't get it. Big pump now by Hayes, now whacked out by Wickerink, and that hits the sideline official, and it's out of bounds, so George Brown has taken their lead back. Good efforts by the Lancers. Unfortunately, not quite enough for the point as George Brown tosses up. Bogal up and over. Breezy sets. Fake by Hayes. Nice little touch by Wickerink. And it stays in play. Now it's going to hit the roof, and that's going to result in another point for George Brown.
We have the lowest roof in the OCAA.
Yeah, that's. I would imagine you've played in all the gyms around this part of Ontario, Jody, so you would know. And unfortunately, as this ball is going to go out of bounds off the serve from Bogal, Loyalist having to deal with it. They got a fairly small space to play in too. It's not huge, but they're trying to make do of what they have, and Josh Roberts will go up for the toss. On the serve, it dipped right down too on Tantenko. Nice play by Hayes off the touch. He's allowed to touch it again after the block. Volleyed over, the Huskies work it to the middle, and the spike is going to be out of bounds. That was courtesy of Perry Kumi, number 12 out of Mississauga, first year. Decent size to him as well, 6'4". He and Matt Krook, also out of Mississauga, the 2 tallest players on this Huskies team. Roberts over. Set Bogal, nice play there by Kumi, and it just missed the outstretched hand of Roberts. It drops on the floor. It's a 15-14 George Brown lead in a very even first set so far, and you got to think this plays into Loyalist's favor for sure. As it's going to be hammered over by Tantenko. Van Allen. Wickerink into the far corner. Nice swat there by number 15. Loyalist has evened the score back up again. As Connor McAdams comes in for Joe Breezy. No libero on the floor for Loyalist on this next set, or next sequence, I should say. And a soft toss into the net by Hayes gives George Brown a 1-point lead back at 16-15. So Breezy will check back in for Hayes. Chris Jenkins having a little chat with his star player over there on the sideline. Here comes the serve. Van Allen up, and nice job by Wickerink again with the swat, and the whole middle part of the George Brown side of the court was left vacated, and that allowed Wickerink an easy slam into the open part. So the Huskies will tag in a couple new players. Wickerink will get set to serve from the backcourt. High toss, and he drives with all of his might and power into it. Here's a slam now, and up and over off the hands of Van Allen and McAdams, and out of play, but it's a good point for George Brown. And of course, if the ball goes off the hand of a player and out of bounds, we mentioned this last game too, that's considered a good point for the attacking team.
We call it a tool.
Nice swat there out of bounds by Loyalist, and it's 2 points now for George Brown in the spread. And now we will see Stephen Ramsey go in to serve. Ramsey up and over. Roberts. Van Allen, nice touch into the open space, and the Huskies find that black hole right in the middle of the court. And now it's a 3-point lead for George Brown. Timeout called by Chris Jenkins and the Lancers. Good efforts by Loyalists, but George Brown has a lot of powerful players in their backcourt.
They start to pull away. And a missed serve is something that has to go in the court. They say in volleyball that's the only time you actually control the ball. Anything else it can come off hands, you can make mistakes. And when you're back there, you actually get to put the ball where you want it to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely if you have good servers on your team, you're usually in a pretty good spot. And Loyalist does have good servers, but George Brown, they got a very diverse group, and they're able to just take over games with their serves. Loyalist is sticking with them though, and I'm pretty impressed, and I imagine you are too, with the way they're sticking with this Huskies team. They want to try and earn an upset win. They're sitting near the bottom of the standings in the East Division, but they're really trying their best, and they've got a lot of horses and a lot of good players to come up with a win. So Breezy will start out with Roberts, Wickering, Cox, McAdams, and Van Allen off the timeout. And this will be Stephen Ramsey serving for George Brown. Roberts, the touch, Van Allen up, and nice try there by Cox, but another nice block by the Huskies. And we'll get a look at who that was exactly. That was number 15, Ahmed Youssef, fourth year out of Toronto. A lot of Toronto area players on this George Brown team. Of course, it is a Toronto-based school. As Roberts will put it up for Van Allen. Nice play there in the back, and it's not going to be able to get across the net, so that's a point for Loyalist, 20-17. Good try by Jacob Osiesa out of Mississauga. And he tried to dig it right out of the floor there. And Jody, for those that are unfamiliar with volleyball or just getting to learn volleyball, what exactly is a dig?
A dig is after someone would come over and they smash the ball, as you call it. So after a big hit, if you return that ball or you get it up into the air.
Perfect, thank you very much for that. And Loyalist gets another point. And it's now 20-18. Alex Cox will get set to drop back. Cox up and over, not a hard serve. The Huskies keep it alive. Nice diving effort by Breezy. Another swat over by Youssef. That touched a Loyalist hand, and that's good for George Brown for their 21st point of the set. Joe Breezy, once named Male Athlete of the Week earlier this year. And he plays that libero position perfectly. He's also an outside hitter, fifth year out of Elgin, standing 6 foot. Here's a toss, nice work by Roberts. Staying in play. Bogdahl up for the nice swat there, but hit too far. Roberts up in the air, back over again. Roberts, the second effort, stays alive for the Huskies. They touched it 3 times, and a nice job by Bogdahl to get it in. And it looked like the Huskies were in some trouble there, but they managed to escape. And they get a point on the board. 22-18 is the score. They're starting out from far out. On the serve is Neeg. Roberts fires into the far corner, just stays in bounds, and that's a good point for Loyalist. Down now by 3, the Lancers are. Still working hard. As checking in for Breezy will be our former color guy for the women's game, Matt Bridgeland out of Harrowsmith. So Matt will go up to serve, coming right in off the bench and into the fire. Smashed over, and did that ball stay in? Yes, it did. Tough luck there for Bridgeland, who was going for it, and then he held up, and it drops right in on the line. Bridgeland back to serve again. Soft toss up, Nig. Up, there's a nice snap by Youssef. Up for Roberts and down, nice play there by number 5. Nice sliding effort, Kendrick Gonsalwan. And the libero just missed it. Loyalist down by 1 point as a timeout is being called. 1 point separates these two teams. And Jody, it could go either way really at this stage of the set. But what we look to see for Loyalist at least to be able to pull off this win.
Boys just have to keep swinging. They have to keep going off that block. In times like this, they tend to make sure it goes over, apart from crush the ball, right? And they have to keep, they got to keep the fight in them a little bit.
That's right, and they definitely can't afford to be making too many mistakes. They also can't afford to take too many huge risks, but at this stage of the game, they would like to be able to earn a first set victory and at least give themselves a chance to control the game, the pace of it, and put themselves in the driver's seat. And Roberts is out there with Hayes to start out. Again, off the timeout. Bridgeland is back serving again. This is his third straight serve.
Good for Matt. It's hard to come off the bench when you haven't started in the momentum and come and do a good job like he has.
Yeah, he's been definitely a key piece off the bench for Loyalists this season. There's a long toss out. And his third straight serve ends up giving the Huskies a point after the out ball. So Breezy comes back in for Bridgeland. You only needed him to serve and come back. And for liberos, Jody, I want to know if do they actually serve with the blue shirts on, or are they not allowed to?
No, in Canada, you're actually not allowed to serve as a libero.
There's a nice smash, and just inside the corner there, and the Huskies are now down to their last point of the set. They have a chance to win it. They're up by 3 again on Loyalist. So starting out from deep is Nathaniel Masson out of Ajax. Masson gets it over, touched. Here is a big spike incoming, and Josh Roberts rings up a 22nd point for Loyalist. And Roberts, again, he was mentioned as one of our players to watch off the top. 88 kills coming into this game, which is ranked up there in the OCAA. As Gabe Van Allen is back to serve. Up in the air, and Van Allen just gets it over. Here's a big spike incoming. Nice block by Wickering. Another try here. Another nice block and a beauty job done by Wickering. Unfortunately, the ball will flip out of bounds. So George Brown takes the first set, 25-22. Very close first set in this one. Loyalist ends up on the losing end, but you got to be impressed if you're Chris Jenkins with that first set.
For sure. The boys have so much fight, and I think the second set, they're going to come out a little less starstruck. First set's a little hard, you know, especially coming off of a Christmas break.
Yeah,
everyone has to, we got to work out the kinks, right? We got to make the mistake that we're not going to make in the third set, so. That's
right, and again, it's getting the feet wet for sure, being able to shake off the rust a little bit. They haven't played since the 1st of December at Fleming, and so it's understandable why they're just still trying to shake off the rust and get through that first little bit. Now they're through the first set. They didn't come out on the winning end, but at the very least they'll be able to take what they learned in the first part of the game and, again, like you said, apply it to the to future sets.
For sure. Number 15, he's new too, Mark, and this is the first time we've seen him showcased as a Lancer, so
and
it's really cool.
He's looking pretty good too.
And the dynamic between a hitter and a setter is huge. And the fact that it is working so well, so quickly, is really, really good. I'm excited to see by the end of the semester how well this works out.
Yeah, he's definitely come out strong here in his first game. Chris Jenkins putting him out in the starting lineup too. And not too often you see a first player or a new player coming in as a starter, but he's obviously been thought of as an important piece to this team, looking to help them out down the stretch run.
Exactly.
Yeah, so Loyalist has been on a bit of a tough stretch as of late. They've lost 7 in a row and their last 4 in straight sets, so they want to try and avoid that. Last time these two teams played was back on November 15th when George Brown swept them in 3 straight in Toronto. Loyalist's last win came back on October 27th when they nipped Seneca right here at Loyalist College in 5 sets. And the Lancers want to try and earn themselves another big win here. That would be extremely important to be able to help them on their playoff push. They still have some time left though, down by a set, but they'll look to try and come back. It started out strong too. They had a bit of a slow start again, as you alluded to, Jody being maybe a little starstruck, maybe a little bit rusty, but they rebounded well late. They stuck with the Huskies, even took a couple leads at one point, but George Brown's got some good horses, and it was just too much for Loyalist.
They got to make that gap between the 1 or 2 points a little bit bigger so that they have the opportunity to maybe lose a couple points in a row as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And
ping pong's a dangerous game, back and forth.
That's right, yeah.
No man's land. Anyone can win.
Exactly, and the Huskies won that game, to say the least, in set 1. Loyalists, they want to try and earn that big victory, or the big lead actually right at the top to earn the victory. But the Huskies are going to start out to serve after the win. Bogal out of Mississauga, 5'10". He's a setter normally in his 3rd year with the Huskies. This George Brown team, to mention, coached by Garrett May in his 2nd year. Oscar Kahu, also in his 2nd year, is the assistant. As Bogal slams one into play, and we're underway to begin the 2nd set. And that's a good point for Dylan Hayes. And it's a 1-0 Loyalist lead to start out. Always want to get that first point for sure.
For sure.
So back to serve again is Gabe Van Allen. Van Allen gets it up. That's going to be tossed up and slammed into the back court. Harry Kumi and George Brown has tied this one up. And again, like Jody mentioned, you want to try and avoid that game of ping pong, especially early on, because usually the team with the more experience will be able to overtake things, as that's going to be slammed into the net by Nig. Here is Roberts. Getting things set up. He'll step into his serve. Smashed it into play. Nice work there in the backcourt. Here's a big tee-up incoming, and slamming that one off the net is Osiesa. Nice dig, though, by Kendrick Amsalwan again. So Loyalist has a 2-point spread, and Roberts is going to go back to serve again. Up he goes. Nice play by Nig, up into the net, stays alive. Nice play, Roberts. Oh, that touched the ceiling. Good effort by Roberts to save that one from falling. Unfortunately, just flew too high. So Perry Kumi will get a chance to serve for the Huskies. Kumi wearing number 12 in the white, blue, and gray of the George Brown Huskies. Van Allen, toss up. Big set there, and a nice slam by Wickerink again. 4-2, Loyalist has a lead. Setting up is Dylan Hayes now from the serving position. Hayes hooks it over. Nig saves it. Gamsalwan keeps it alive, and Osiesa puts it over. Cox down to Van Allen, back to Cox, and did that touch a hand? No, it didn't. That was just straight over and out of bounds. Alex Cox with a powerful slam, unfortunately just not quite enough to keep it in play. But Stephen Ramsey will serve now for George Brown with Loyalist ahead 4-3. Ramsey gets it over, Roberts, the touch. Here's the slam by Wickerink, that deflects off of Youssef and into the George Brown side of the floor, so that's a good point for Loyalist. Wickerink will go ahead and serve for the Lancers. Wickerink, newest player on the Lancers, puts one into play. Nig up, and wow, nice slam there by Youssef. That was as quick of a play as I've seen so far. Went the dig, the set, and the smash, and a good point for George Brown. Osiesa will go ahead and toss in. Up in the air, Van Allen. Cox, nice touch there to get it over a hand, but stays in play for the Huskies. Nig up, nice play by Breezy. Roberts now the set. Gamsalwan got a touch on it, and it was too much for him to handle. Joe Breezy with a good effort there to make it 6-4 Loyalist.
That's a huge point right there. coming off of a big swing outside with number 13 there, and coming back and winning that point. It's a good TSN turning point.
Absolutely. And the Huskies want to try and get back some momentum, and they will, as Breezy went down to his knees, and rather down to a crouch, and tried to save that one. Unfortunately, just hammered off his hands and into the crowd.
He's in perfect position though, which is so awesome because this is new for him, right? He's doing a really good job. Yeah, absolutely. This Loyalist team learning each and every game they play, and there's a nice spike by Connor McAdams. 7-5 Loyalist leads, and McAdams, how has he been doing this season, Jody? Of course, you and the women have seen the guys play quite a bit. What would you say for Connor McAdams and how he's progressed this season? Connor's awesome. He's not only a very crucial point, like part of this team, and a huge block, but like as a person, he brings a very good team dynamic. He brings, like, keeps people together, and he's very high-spirited. So yeah, Connor's really, really cool. Absolutely, yeah. And the Trenton native is an important part to this team. He's been getting quite a bit of action so far through about a set and a half so far. Roberts, nice slam up, and there's another point for Loyalist, 9-5. Nice work by McAdams there to help out after the serve. And the timeout will be called by George Brown, and the fans and the players respond here. Great to have such energy in this gym. Loyalist has been kind of struggling at one point to get back, but now the girls have done well. The guys are improving each and every game. But so far through the first two sets, what have you seen from the Lancers positively? Positively, they're learning from their mistakes, and the tendency is really, really big in volleyball. So when you have an outside hitter, and if they're only going to hit cross court, well, then you set up around that, right? So if they're learning from the mistake they make on that one point, and they now set up where that ball has gone, it'll help them for sure progress in this set. Oh, absolutely. And this George Brown team, though, they're tough, and they want to answer back. They're down by 4 points, so it's not a completely lost cause for them. It's still quite early in the second set. They want to try and get back here against the Lancer team that'll be hungry. And of course, when you're a Huskies team that has 7 wins and 9 games this season, and you're playing a team that has mustered just one, definitely you don't want to get too overconfident. You want to be able to give the same effort through right from the first opening serve to the final point. And the Huskies have done themselves a decent job so far, but the only thing they need to do is stay cognizant and stay alert. And there's a nice block by Dylan Hayes, a 10th point for Loyalist on the set. Liking the way Dylan Hayes has taken over this game early on. We mentioned him off the top as being a star player to watch, and he has definitely stepped up and proven exactly why he's a star player in this Loyalist team. Van Allen, Hayes, touch up, goal goal, up, Ramsey trying to touch it and just gave it a light little bump. Nice block though by Gabe Van Allen, and he gets it in past Kumi. It's a lead for the Lancers, a 5-point advantage now, 11-6. And Gabe Van Allen will go back to serve now after that big block. And what can you say, Jody, about him? I mean, I think he's looked pretty solid in this game. He is very solid, and he's a really good mental player. He keeps the boys in check a little bit. Out of bounds, that smash goes from the blue and white, and it's now another point for the Lancers. Gabe Van Allen back to serve. Van Allen wearing number 1 on this Loyalist team. Nice toss over. Cox didn't get enough on that one, and it leads to a point for the Huskies. 11-7 is the score for Loyalist now, and Nig's going to get set to serve. Here he comes, gets it over with an open palm. Van Allen to Roberts, smash, nice save there by Nig off the serve. And nice drop by Perry Kumi there into open space. Good stretch by Van Allen, and looked like it was Wickrink was the other one, but just not quite enough to save that one. So it's tough.
Oh. Go ahead.
It's tough when a middle goes up like that and they phaser. They almost miss swing, right? So you're so ready for them to crush it in your face, and they just do a little one, and you're not ready.
Yeah, nice little touch, and sometimes that's just as effective, if not more. Just, again, proving it right there. Osiesa, and then he tries to smash and hit in the netting. Exactly what we were just talking about.
Of course.
And Osiesa tried the touch, it didn't work, and then he tried the smash, and he buried it right into the net. You got to try a little bit of everything, though, when you go up to that net, because especially when you get big, tall guys like Wickerink and Hayes, and even a spry guy like Cox up there, and it's smashed into the net by Roberts. Rare misfire from him, and it's now 12-9, the score in favor of Loyalists still. Youssef checks in for Gamsawan. Kumi is going to go back to serve for the Huskies. Harry Kumi up and over. Breezy, Van Allen, the set, big smash there by Wickerink, but a big save by Osiesa, and he pimps out that play there. 13-9 now the score. Harry Kumi back, he'll just go from his flat foot, gets it over. Cox, nice smash, and that's in, or no, it's not inbounds. Oh, it looked pretty close to me, but regardless, the referee makes his call. Lancers can't afford to complain or worry about it. They just got to sit back and let the Huskies go forth again.
Balls like that, as much as it looked, and those antennas sitting there, you can't touch them at all. They're like no man's land.
Yeah, absolutely. It's any time that the ball even touches a sliver of the antenna, that's considered out of bounds. Here comes the smash from number 15 Wickerink. That's hammered off the wall. And the score board here, I think it should be 14-11 right now for Loyalists, but I think they're missing a point on there. Regardless, Loyalists still does have the lead. And Dylan Hayes will serve. Up in the air, Nig, nice save. Bogal up, Youssef, Roberts, touched by Van Allen now. Tipped over softly by Wickerink, but a nice save by Gamsawan. Osiesa up for now, another nice block by Mark Wickerink. Ramsey heaves it over. Hayes sets up Van Allen over to the right side, or the far side of the court rather, the left side. It's over, Osiesa up. Good volley here going. Another try here for number 15 Wickerink, and touched by the Husky. And there's been no ruling yet for the official, as there's some arguments going on. They're saying that it touched Wickerink on the way down. Bogal and Roberts are now going to go over, and when something like this happens, Jody, when the official or the players have to go over and talk to the officials, how often does that happen in the course of a game?
Only on calls that they don't agree with. So your captain's the only one who can actually talk to the ref. Your coach can't even talk to the ref. So it has to be like a little chain of commands there. So anytime a coach doesn't agree with a call.
Yep, that absolutely makes sense. And yeah, there's still no point on the board here. So I guess maybe they're just going to redo this sequence. Roberts knocks it over while falling down. Bogal up for Ramsey with the spike. Beauty save there by Hayes, and it's punched by a Loyalist player over on the bench and over by the sideline, I should say. And that's a 13-12 score now. Loyalists still leading, but the Huskies are starting to breathe down their necks a little bit. Ramsey will be back to serve. He'll step into this, gets it over. There's a set and a beauty spike there by Connor McAdams, and that'll put Loyalists ahead by 2 again. McAdams, good effort there by big number 3. Dropping back now is Wickerink to serve. Loyalist in possession. Nig, save, Bogal up for Osiesa, that's over off a hand. Van Allen to Cox, he'll just tip it over. Nice save by Youssef though. Back over Osiesa, the outside hitter to the left-hand side, and he hammers it home. 14-13 the score now in favor of the Lancers. Jacob Osiesa, number 7 for the Huskies. That's the guy they seem to want to use over on that far side of the court. And they've gotten some good points out of him. He'll step into this. Roberts jumping up there is Van Allen at the net, and miscommunication there from the Lancers leads to a tie game. And a big point for the Huskies. Osiesa is back to serve. He'll get set to step up. Nice work there by Roberts to volley it up. Van Allen. Wickering hammers it into the net, and right back in the lead again are the Huskies. Been a good set for Loyalists so far. Unfortunately, the Huskies just strong up front, and that's the biggest thing. You don't have a whole lot of big, tall guys, but when they do use the ones they have to their effectiveness. There's a nice block. Van Allen up and over. Ramsey. Youssef tipped by Nig, and just past Connor McAdams riding down the net. And the Huskies now take a 2-point lead. 4 straight points, as a matter of fact, for the George Brown Huskies, and a timeout will be called. Loyalists with a good first part of the second set, but unfortunately the Huskies have clawed the momentum back from Loyalists. And what do you want to see from the Lancers moving into the back half of the second set?
The boys just need to focus on 1 point at a time. I feel like they get a little bit ahead of themselves in the bigger picture when they're up, which is super optimistic as an athlete. But they got to win 1 point at a time, and then the next point. And if they lose one, well, then they got to fight for that very third point. You know what I mean? Yeah,
that exactly. Yeah, you're exactly right. And you said with Matt Bridgeland back in the women's game, you can ill afford to worry about a missed opportunity or a missed point. You take it, you curse yourself, and then you get right back to action. That's the simple fact of it. You can't afford to really fret, not just about multiple points, but even just one, because the other teams can sense that. They can sense your vulnerability, and then they just take advantage of it.
For sure. We mentioned before momentum was huge, and if you wear it on your face that you are disappointed in yourself, well, you're getting served the next point. They'll pick on you. Exactly right, and they'll just put it right over there. It's just, like, smart players will definitely put the ball right over on your side of the court. If you don't have your head straight in the game, that's going to cost you, as Nig will throw that one down, and it's 17-14 Huskies. So right off the timeout, George Brown continues to stay in possession, as Bogal has a brief chat with the ref. He's back into action. Jacob Osiesa up to serve once again. Nice save by Breezy. Fake spike, real spike by my mistake. That was number 5 for Loyalist. That was Matt Rosa out of Belleville, 3rd year, as he checks into the game for the first time this afternoon. Here is Rosa back to serve now. Rosa lifts it up and over the net. Bogal, the touch, Nig hammering that one, nice block, staying alive though. Ramsey, that's tipped over. Good sequence by the Huskies. Roberts, a second try up the net, staying in play, or did it? No, it's going to be Huskies point. Tough luck there for the Lancers on a good sequence, but the Huskies stayed alive by simply putting their will to work, and they end up coaxing an 18th point out of Loyalist. So checking into the game now for the Huskies is number 10, that's Norbu Shretz out of Toronto, 2nd year. McAdams up off of Ramsey. Osiesa keeps it alive. Ramsey hooks it over. Loyalist goes back for another try. McAdams spikes it down. Connor McAdams with a 16th point for Loyalist. And once again, Loyalist putting forth a great effort on that sequence, not allowing the Huskies any satisfaction there after that great play to keep the sequence alive. That's a long serve out from Matt Rosa. That'll kill the Loyalist offensive stretch. 19-16, the Huskies get a free point, and Bogal's back to serve. For the Huskies, George Brown getting set in a row in the middle. Bogal slams it over. Up in the air it goes. It's touched on the nice punch by Roberts. McAdams is swinging around for it. That's going to be knocked out, and it's George Brown's point, 20-16. And this is starting to look a little precarious now for Loyalist. Still not out of it yet though. Bogal's back to serve. Down by 4 are the Lancers.
Bogal hammering it up off the roof there. Nice diving effort by Roberts. And the Huskies end up with another point as that ball touches the ceiling out of bounds. That small roof to floor distance, I guess, as you mentioned earlier, Jody. And Loyalists down now to their last 4 points before the end of this second half. Still not out of it yet, but they're going to really need to give themselves, I guess they need to find something to get momentum back because they're still down by 5 points. This Huskies group, though, is looking to try and finish them off in this second set. Lancers, though, have been close with them, though, which is what you want to see.
For sure. It says a lot about a team, talking about the Huskies, to come back after, you know, a little decline in their gameplay there, but a lot of character. Absolutely,
yep. This Huskies team, that's why they're sitting second place in the East Division. Character, gumption, and also the right amount of players. Not just the right amount of players to play the game, but to have the character and the ability to mentor each other and be able to learn from it. That's what the college game is, all about learning, game after game, even in game. It's so important to be able to come together and play as a team, which the Huskies have this season. So is Loyalists, though. They just want to try and be able to get something out of it here. There's a toss up in the net, miss, so Huskies grab another point. And that's the second straight time that the Huskies have managed to pull out a point off a timeout. As Bogal will jump up to serve again. Whacked over, nice work by Roberts. Set up, Gabe Van Allen, and Hayes puts it right into the net. He had a chance to hook it over, and the ball just took a bad bounce off his hand and rippled into the net. So another point for the Huskies, 23-16 the score. Setting things up with the tag is Bogal right into the netting, and that's a freebie point for the Lancers, 23-17 the score. So the Lancers will get started from beyond the line. Gabe Van Allen up ahead. Nig set up for Bogal. Ramsey hooks it over. Rosa got a touch on it, and unfortunately it just goes shooting off of his fist and up off the basketball net that's been pushed up here for these games. 24-17. Huskies are 1 point away from making it 2 straight set wins. Richard Sirot, or rather, pardon me, Yusuf Jackman out of Toronto, a third year. Will go up to toss. He puts it really high, too. Probably the highest serve we've seen so far this afternoon, but Loyalist gets it over, and that'll be the only serve that Jackman will get on that sequence. So 24-18, the score. Loyalist stays alive. Looking to try and mount a tight comeback. Roberts back to serve. And he will get up and go. Just touched the netting there on that serve. Right up the top. Ramsey the spike. Nice save by Breezy. They got to get it over, though. Roberts won't be able to. Stuck in a tough position there deep. And it's a 25-18 second set win for the George Brown Huskies. Good effort by the Lancers again, but unfortunately they're at risk of going down as the Huskies just need one more set to take the game in straight sets. And Jody, heading into the third set, Loyalist hasn't been playing bad at all. They've actually been playing a very competitive game, but the only thing is they just need to be able to hold their leads, and getting into a big lead, it's tough, but it is possible. And ultimately, what would you like to see for this third set, both from Loyalist and George Brown?
Just a little bit of fight. A lot of volleyball players forget that the game of volleyball is to make the other team make a mistake, right? So you have to take that mistake as a grain of salt and move forward in that next point and not get hung up on that mistake. So for the boys and their sake, they need to find that little fight within, and they have so much heart to side out within that next point. And if they don't win that next point, well, then they just got to focus on the next point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Loyalist trying to at least keep this game going for another set. They need a victory, though, in this third to be able to keep going. If they don't, then it's game over, and George Brown has the victory. George Brown as mentioned, 7-2, sitting second place in the East Division. They're a couple games beneath Georgian, 4 points behind the Georgian Grizzlies out of Barrie. And that's where the OCAA Provincials for the men's side will be held. So definitely Georgian stocking up for that run. Provincials will be held starting February 22nd, by the way, for those of you that want to tune in. In Barrie, Ontario at Georgian College for the men's, and for the women's, where will you guys be?
We're at Centennial, which is super cool because we're local-ish.
Yep, yeah, it's 2.5, or not, yeah, it's about 2 hours away. That still is good to get in. And you guys, just talking briefly about the women's team, you guys made provincials last year. It was the first time in quite a few years that you guys made it. What was it like being able to take in that experience? I believe it was in Windsor last year, is that correct?
Yeah, it was really bittersweet. I think we went into that playoff game with a lot of determination, but we almost didn't have anything to lose. So the team we were going up against was ranked higher than us, so the odds of us winning were a lot lower. So when we won and we came off of it, it was bittersweet. It was crazy.
Yeah, definitely a great experience, though, I would imagine, to be able to take in that kind of experience. Meantime, the men trying to at least make it to the playoffs. Top 8 teams in the East Division, both divisions, as a matter of fact, the OC2A make the playoffs. So as of right now, Loyalist is sitting out along with Fleming. On the west side, it's Cambrian and Boreal. But Loyalist, if they can pull off a victory, at least 1 or 2 victories at some point before the end of the season, and they have a chance at the playoffs. They're definitely not out of it just yet. There's a lot of teams that are still right around the bubble there. La Cité and Algonquin are among the mix as well. Big slam there, nice save, as they'll turn it back up. There's the one touch, the whiff by Kumi, slammed in. What a play there by Nig, and he makes it 1-0 for George Brown, kickstarting the third set. And George Brown gets a chance to serve again. That's Bogal, Pradeep Bogal, 5'10" out of Mississauga. He'll get set to serve up from beyond the line, over in the right corner. There he goes, hammers it over to the other side, tipped up off the net, stays alive. Hayes, nice diving effort though by Gamsalwin. That's going to stay in play. Loyalist continues to work it around. Roberts on the touch, and it's going to go over, and point is going to go to George Brown, and they called a foul on Loyalist, it looks like.
Yeah, they called it double. So double means when the ball comes off of someone's setting, it has a lot of spin on it. It means your hands didn't touch it at the same time. It's a tough one. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a tough one to call for sure, because the ball spins so fast and it happens so quick on those rallies. There's a nice play by Dylan Hayes on the block.
That was a great block.
Defense turns into offense for Loyalist, and for Dylan Hayes, that's another point as he continues to roll this afternoon. Josh Roberts back to serve up. Kick step, leaps into his serve, and again, those leaping serves are so dangerous, as we alluded to last game with Serapiana Yafu. Josh Roberts unfortunately doesn't get a point for his team. Huskies are up 3-1.
That was a great shot for number 13. It was very controlled, very smart.
Yep, that was Neon Nig, the outside hitter out of Toronto, 5th year. The lone 5th-year player in this Huskies team. There's a shot and in for Wickerink. And Loyalist has gotten back in points a little bit. So Joe Breezy is going to be tagging out. He has a libero. It's his turn to serve, but obviously, as Jody alluded to earlier, you can't in Canadian volleyball. So Dylan Hayes takes up, just gets it over the net, just skimmed by. There's Ociesa hammering it over. Van Allen working to Wickerink. He'll just volley it. Nice soft toss, comes back to him now. Ramsey tips it with one hand. Comes back to him now. Nice play by Wickerink to keep it in play. Another slam by Wickering. What a block by Kumi. And he's pumped up after that. Stephen Ramsey, good work as well on that sequence for the Huskies.
Blocks like that are tough. They're tough to defend against because the odds of it going into the deep back of the court are so slim, right? But every once in a while they catch you.
That's right. They can catch players off guard. We've seen it quite a few times this afternoon. You expect the big slam, and then you get just the nice little block. Loyalist gets the third touch on it. It's up and over. Kumi puts it up into the ceiling. That's a point for Loyalist. And it's 4-3 now for the Huskies. Outstanding efforts there again by the Lancers. Alex Cox will go back and serve. Pretty much the same guys out on the floor here so far for Chris Jenkins' team. There hasn't been too much switching up. There's a nice play by Breezy. It's up into the light fixtures and another point for the Huskies. So it's 5-3 for George Brown. And we mentioned, haven't mentioned too many of the bench players. Dylan Hayes and Matt Bridgeland have gotten some floor time. But for Loyalist, Derek Meeks hasn't left the bench yet. Matt Rosa's gotten in a bit. But we haven't seen much of Kyle Coolin out of Tweed, nor have we seen much of Jaden Jones out of Belleville. They hope to see them at some point soon. As it's a 5-4 game now. Loyalist back into the serve position. Dropping back to defend are the Huskies. Here comes the swat and a beauty spike, and that's good. That's an ace for Mark Wickering, and that is just a nice swing there, just up and over the net and perfectly right in the backcourt. Stays on side. We saw a couple of those from Serapiana Yafu in the first game. And now it's going to be Wickering slamming it again. This time it's going to be saved by Nig. Up into the netting, and Loyalist takes the lead, 6-5. Youssef puts it right in to the middle of the net. As it springs off, Loyalist gets the 6th point of the set. Wickering will get set to tag in. Nice swat there, Nig. Nice dig there on that play. Keeping it alive for the Huskies, and then a big swat from Osiesa. That's the perfect play for any coach to see in volleyball. The dig, the set, and the spike. And that's perfect for George Brown. Couldn't have mapped out a better play than that. So it'll be Osiesa shooting in, tipped in, Gabe Van Allen puts it home. 7-6, Loyalist takes the lead back again. Van Allen's been impressive so far today. Chris Jenkins doesn't seem like he's let him leave the court yet. As McAdams will serve. The touch up, another spike incoming. McAdams saved it, but it's going to end up resulting in a Huskies point as the ball goes way far away from the playing surface. 7-7 the score now. George Brown gets set to tag back in again. Youssef. Free hand up. Reese touched it too high. That one had a lot of backspin on it off the serve from Youssef. And it proved to be too much for Breezy to handle. And we'll get another serve incoming here from the Huskies. Up and over. Breezy the save. The touch by Hayes, that's into the net. Stays alive though for the Huskies, but unfortunately Bogal can't keep that spike in play. 8-8 the score now. And we're back to another even back and forth set. Lancers want to try and get a set victory to stay alive in this game. Bogal up for Kumi, that's in, and it's 9-8 now Huskies. We continue to go back and forth and back and forth. Hasn't really stopped much through this whole game.
I swear I'm going to be 80 by the time I graduate watching the boys. They make me feel.
Yeah, they're a team that, as we alluded to earlier, that one's going to go out of bounds, so Loyalist ties it up. Lancers love to go deep into games, even when they don't win, even if they don't win a set. If they go down in 3 like they have the last few games, they still battle, and it makes things a lot more difficult. They're a 1-8 team in the standings, but they're not a 1-8 team when you see them play. They're just not quite able to get anything working out in terms of winning sets, and Loyalist ends up getting a point out of that. 10-9 the score now. Roberts back to serve again. Josh Roberts, 100+ points on the season for Loyalist. He's their leading scorer. And he will put it just out of bounds. Almost had that ace, but the Huskies do the smart thing and let it go out. Again, it's a tough decision when you have the ball coming right to that back line. It's the decision of whether you touch it, whether you don't, and Loyalist again. It happened at that end as well. Loyalist decided not to touch it and ends up being ruled out by the sideline referee. So here comes Dylan Hayes now, dropping to serve. Fires it from his flat foot. Drops straight through there. Miscommunication from Bogal and Nig, and that leads to another point for Loyalist. Up by 2 now are the men in the white and red. And again, it's interesting the way different guys serve, depending on what's comfortable for them. Some serve left-handed, some serve right-handed. And some like Dylan Hayes will shoot from flat foot, and others like Josh Roberts will leap up in the air. As that's going to be a George Brown point. Jody, maybe can you explain why certain guys, or certain players for that matter, serve the way they do?
I think it goes by personal preference. What you think is one going to be the most difficult for the other team to get up, and two, the most reliable for your own team. Like it has to go over the net, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Safest for yourself.
That's right. And it's always good to be comfortable when you serve, like the player was there for George Brown. Connor McAdams slams it in and gets a rousing applause from the fans here at Loyalist. Alex Cox will drop back now to serve for the Lancers, who lead by 2 again. Cox fires to the far side. Tipped up, and a great job by Youssef to catch Van Allen off guard a bit. Reese was there as well. Unfortunately, he couldn't get his hand on it either, so it's 13-12 Loyalist. Here comes number 3 for the Huskies. That is Youssef Jackman. Third year to Toronto. He fires that one way out, and Loyalist will take a 2-point lead back again. Wickerink dropping to serve for Loyalist as they cycle around. Next server for the Lancers will be Joe Reese, but he obviously can't serve, so they're going to bring likely Dylan Hayes off the bench. There's a nice save, and Roberts played a little hot potato there with Reese, and it drops in for a point for the Huskies. Good efforts there from the Lancer men. Osiesa. He'll serve from the far side of the gym. Van Allen on the touch, slammed down. Nice play there by Josh Roberts, and it was touched by Nathaniel Masson, and it goes out of bounds, so that's a good point for Loyalist. 15th of the set for them. So Hayes comes out now to replace Reese as expected. Connor McAdams will set himself up for the serve. Up and over. Bogal, nice set for Youssef. His spike was blocked. Now Roberts with a try. That's going to hit something on the way through, and that's a Loyalist point. Josh Roberts makes it 16-13. And it's McAdams now in for a second straight serve. Lancers looking pretty strong here as of this point. Momentum is key, as we mentioned. There's a nice block. This one's trouble. Nice play there by Jackman to keep it alive. And another point there. That's going to be a double touch there for the George Brown Huskies. Loyalists leading by 4 heading into a timeout, 17-13. And Jody, I got to say, this has probably been Loyalist's best set so far. They played well in the first 2, but you can see a different sort of demeanor in this group heading into a do-or-die third set.
For sure. They have this determination right now where they're not getting too fired up, and they're not getting not fired up enough. You know what I mean? It's like that perfect level of just making sure they get that next point.
Absolutely, and of course you see the bench players getting some action and just to keep themselves loose. Loyalist has a fairly local group. Of course, you got Connor McAdams from Trenton, Derek Meeks from Sterling, Jaden Jones and Matt Rosa from Belleville, and Kyle Coolin from Tweed. And Josh Roberts, their best player arguably, coming from Nova Scotia, Shubendikati, Nova Scotia, and hailing from Carleton Place is Alex Cox. And also another local player, Will Sexton from Madoc. But I don't think he's even got out of his warm-up shirt yet, so it doesn't look like he'll see any action. As we're back underway to begin another third set. Bogal up in the air, nice slam by Nig, but it stays alive. The Huskies get a third touch. Jackman right into the open floor, good stretch by Cox, but it just tips off his hands and rolls away from him. That's a point for the Huskies, 17-14 the score in favor of Loyalist.
Don't quote me on this, but I really only think a team can dress 12 people. So I don't think Zach is able to dress.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense for sure. And that's unfortunate for him, but again, you got to be able to run through a full cycle of players. Can't afford to have too many guys sitting on the sidelines.
Of course.
Hayes, nice play there to keep it alive. Van Allen pushes it across. Roberts, nice spike into the open space. And it's 18-14 Loyalist. Good set there by Van Allen, and Roberts pulls the trigger on that spike and makes it 18-14. Van Allen dropping back to serve. Gabe Van Allen has 6 kills on the season and 219 assists in the set position. He is, of course, a natural setter. And there he tries to hold up Roberts for another play. Nice job, though, by the Huskies to heave it over. And Bogal will get the point on that one for his team. It's back to a 3-point lead for the Lancers. So Bogal will go back to serve. Of course, one of the top players for the Huskies heading into this game, Dart Jackman. We haven't seen much of him yet. As that serve is going to go off the line. And Bogal has 326 assists and 9 kills this season. And the 326 kills assists far and away leads this Huskies team. Nice stretch by Roberts, just digging it out of the floor at the last possible moment, and then Cox softly puts it off the netting. So the Huskies are working it back down to a 1-point deficit now, 18-17. And Loyalist is going to try and regroup here, call a timeout. Chris Jenkins wanting to get his team regrouped again. Loyalist coming off that timeout, not quite as sharp as the Huskies. And George Brown picks up a few key points.
Timeouts are tough. Timeouts are like a mental break, so coaches use them to their advantage. So if Loyalist is up by a little bit, they're going to stop the momentum. They're going to make them go on the sidelines and think about the next couple of points and maybe get in their head a little bit. So it's really crucial, especially coming off when you're the server, to get that next ball in or to win that first point coming off of a timeout.
Absolutely, and for the Lancers, it's going to be no more key than this ensuing timeout right here. Is you got to be able to get their heads back into it here, make sure that they go face-to-face with the Huskies and pull something out. They've definitely played too well to not earn at least one set victory this afternoon. This is a good George Brown team as well, as we alluded to earlier a couple times. Breesy, nice setup. Here is a swap by Roberts in play. Nice keep alive there by the Huskies. It's out of bounds, and smart play by Breesy to just say no, leave the ball out of bounds there as he was sliding after it, making sure he doesn't touch it, because if he does and it goes out of play, then it's Huskies' point and the game's tied. Instead, Loyalist has their 2-point lead back. Roberts leaping into this one, and that's just out of bounds. That was close. Ociesa thought about touching it and then elected just to let it go. Thought better of it. 19-18 Loyalist leads now. George Brown 4-1 away from home this season. Loyalists, as I mentioned earlier, have earned their only victory this year here at the Loyalist Gym in friendly confines. Ball staying up. Van Allen Wickerink touching it. Nice play by Mark Wickerink. Sometimes you just gotta let it go. Just give it a nice little touch. Don't want to kill it in this kind of sense, especially when the opposing player gets too close to the net, like in that instance. Here is Hayes with a free hand up. Set up there for Osiesa. Nice block by Connor McAdams, and that'll get everybody fired up. Connor McAdams makes it 21-18. Loyalists 4 points away from a victory. Another timeout call here by the Huskies. And Loyalists can ill afford to get complacent now. Only a 3-point lead that can and has changed in the past. And you got to think their top guys are going to be staying on the floor, cycling through the same probably 7 or 8 guys. It's a dangerous group to deal with when they get going like they have, and momentum is key, as we mentioned. Loyalist getting that 3-point lead. What do they got to do to be able to finish this set off with a victory?
I personally think composure. They got to keep themselves just worried about the point that they're working on and not getting too far ahead of themselves, because when you hit that 20 mark, we're notorious for it too, that you kind of let up a little bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you get a little bit too, I guess, nervous because you see the points and you're almost there right at the end, and then unfortunately it just starts to unravel for you. You get a little excited, and that has happened to Loyalists this season. But they are able to definitely take over a game when they need to and finish things off, and for their sake, they hope they can pull it off here late. Trying to survive and win here in the regular season. There's a ball inbounds. Good play by the Huskies. They get it right on that back line. Roberts and Van Allen thought about arguing the official, but he made the call, and it was the right one. Looked like the ball hit that line. And now the Huskies will get a chance to get into serving position. And they're getting ready to attack too. They've got 3 guys up front, 2 in the middle, and 1 back serving. Van Allen, Wickerink, inbounds there. Good play by Mark Wickerink. Good solid spike, and he put it right on that back line. Painted it. And Wickerink has made it 22-19. And it looks like Jaden Jones will get a chance to tag in for the first time in this game. Alex Cox will come out, and Jones will jump right into the fire. He'll get a chance to serve here for Loyalist.
Jaden is a very big, crucial part of their mental capacity on this team. He's super, super smart.
Yeah, that he is, and he's passionate about volleyball too. His serve was good. Unfortunately, his team couldn't keep the play going for him, so it's 22-20 now, Lancers. And it's getting towards crunch time for both teams in this third set. Stephen Ramsey is back to set up for the serve. Ramsey out of Toronto, a second-year player. Nice spike there, nice block, and it's Huskies' ball. Good effort there by Wickerink again to get it over. McAdams was also in the mix there. 22-21 the score. The Huskies have a chance to tie it on this next sequence. Ramsey getting set. There's the toss. Set up, Van Allen. McAdams in play. Connor McAdams gets the point, and it's a big one for the Lancers. They're back up by 2 again, 23-21. McAdams has 27 kills coming into this game, and he's a guy that has consistently been improving game after game this year. Wickerink jumps it up, and that's out of bounds. The Huskies yelled to distract him a bit, and it worked, I guess, as Wickerink put a spike, or put a serve rather, just a little bit too hard past the line. Osiesa jumps ahead, feeds it Breesy. Up Van Allen, nice little touch by Roberts. Huskies keep it up. Breesy, Van Allen, again whacked by Roberts. Breesy keeps it alive though. Van Allen to the middle, Wickerink, the nice touch over top of a couple hands, but again, the Huskies keep it in play. Nice block again. They volley it up, nice little push, and it is good. tie game for the George Brown Huskies. Nice efforts by Youssef and Osiesa there jumping up into the play after serving. And again, it's so important to have your server be a big, important part of a rally. Jacob Osiesa was there for the Huskies. McAdams touched, and that's going to be whacked off the wall. That's a 24-point for Loyalist, 24-23. And Loyalist has a chance to pull off a victory here in this third set and stay alive. McAdams is going to tag out for Matt Bridgeland, the star of our women's game earlier. Bridgeland taking a deep breath and going ahead. Out. 24-24. This is going to be game point now when it gets into this situation, Jody. You have to win by 2 points. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that means that 26 points is the lowest amount that a team can win by. Reese, Van Allen, Hayes tips it up ahead. Nice, a lot keep there by Youssef to keep it alive, but he doesn't get it over, and Loyalist has a 25-24 lead. So Van Allen now will drop back to serve. Jones tags out for Cox. And he'll get set up with Hayes, Roberts, Reese, and Wickerink in the middle. Up in the air it goes. Big tag there by Ning. Up it goes. Van Allen to Hayes. Into the zone there. That's going to be a win for the Loyalist Lancers. 26-24. They survive for at least one more set. Beautiful work there too by everybody on the floor. Van Allen, Reese, Cox, Wickerink, Hayes, and Roberts. And they stay alive. Jody, great win. It took a little bit longer than Loyalists may have wanted to, but still, that's a win no matter what.
For sure. Nail biter. It's notorious for the boys. Can't go down without giving us a heart attack at least once.
It definitely makes for some entertaining play, though, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, the Huskies, they know they're not out of it yet, though. They still have one more chance to win. If Loyalists can pull off a comeback victory, then that would be unprecedented for sure, especially against this Huskies team. As mentioned, only lost twice all year. And the Lancers are trying for their first overall victory since October 27th. And for them, they're one step closer, but still, that's only one set win. They need to be able to win two more. And in comeback fashion, too, they can't afford to give up any freebie points. They can't afford to lose any more sets because they don't have any more. They don't have another chance. And George Brown, meantime, last game being on Wednesday, the 6th of December, they won 3-1 over Centennial. As mentioned, they've only lost twice all year. Their first game and their last game of November to Georgian and Durham, respectively. Nobody's been able to beat Georgian yet, though, in the East Division, 9-0. George Brown trying to catch up to them. Loyalist, meantime, trying to catch up to Fleming and Seneca, who currently sit tied for 8th in the East Division. And we like to promote our next games here for the Loyalist Lancers. Both the men's and the women's teams will head to Seneca College, take on the Sting on Wednesday night. The women will go at 6 o'clock. The men will begin at 8. And as for George Brown, their next game will be also on Wednesday at 8 o'clock for the men against Durham. That's at home. And then the women, of course, play the Durham Lady Lords before that at 6 o'clock. So both teams will be back in action on Wednesday. Lancers trying to tie this set up. They won't be looking forward to Seneca yet until they can get past this. As Lancers are trying to even the set up. This is a good sports weekend for Loyalist. Basketball teams, both men's and women's, swept the Centennial Colts last night, and this afternoon, the Loyalist Lady Lancers picked up a victory. Men's trying to come back and make it a perfect weekend for Loyalist athletic teams.
It'd be really cool to come home with a win. We never get a double victory. It's either they win We lose. We win and they lose.
Yeah, that'll be good for the men, and definitely gives them an extra bit of confidence heading into that late season playoff push. Of course, both men's and women's teams had a lot of road games at the beginning of the season, which kind of maybe threw things off a bit, but they're getting more home action later on in the season. Next home game for Loyalists will be on the 24th, a Wednesday, against Fleming. There's a whiff on that play by Hayes as the fourth set's underway. Kumi hammers this one up and over. That's good. Just kind of a nice, clean arc, and nobody touched it. So Perry Kumi gets the point there. Kumi has had only 5 kills coming into this game. He's a young guy, though. He only got into 3 sets before, so getting a chance to come back and make a difference for his team is big for him in his career. That's a nice block there by Hayes, but unfortunately the ball goes out of bounds, didn't touch a George Brown player, so that is a good point for the Huskies. A second one on the set already. Here's Bogal now back to serve. The toss up, that's going to be out. Loyalist gets an easy point. And we've talked a little bit about terminology. We talked about digs, talked a bit about kills as well. Is there any other terminology for first-time volleyball watchers, Jody, that you'd like to let people know?
When you get a block and it goes off of the block and out, it's called a tool. It's called tooling someone, like they shed tools.
Right.
An ace. An ace is when no one touches the ball off a serve and it hits the floor directly. That's about it.
All right. Thank you very much for that, as Bogal tags up. Kumi gets it in, and that's a point for the Huskies. So it's 3-2 now. George Brown still looking pretty loose. Guys out there having a lot of fun. That's what it's all about. Of course, the winning culture has been instilled in George Brown as well from their head coach, Garrett May. Up in the air it goes. Niggs steps up in the backcourt and hammers that one out of bounds. It tipped, though, as the referees deemed that to be a tip on the play. And it did just barely ripple off the hands of a player. Nig puts that one into the net, so another easy point for Loyalist. And at this stage of the game, when it's getting into the 4th and 5th sets, you can ill afford to be giving away freebie points by putting serves into the net, by miscommunicating with a teammate, letting the ball drop between you. Bogal to the head for Ramsey, swatted to the opposite side. Van Allen to Roberts, big step up there by Kumi and Ramsey to keep the play alive in the block. Now Kumi tips it over, and looks like maybe a lift on that play. Hard to tell, but regardless, it's a point for the Huskies. It's 5-3 for George Brown. Kumi gets it ahead. Van Allen. Wickerink just dropped it in on that line. I'm trying to make sure that that was actually going to stay in play. It's 5-4 for George Brown. So Dylan Hayes will go back to serve. Hayes gets it over. Nice set by Nig. Here comes a big spike from Ramsey. Nice dig by Alex Cox. Over now to Wickerink. He fires one off, and boy, that ball went flying right back where it came from. And it's going to go out of bounds, so it's 6-4 now for George Brown. Stephen Ramsey will serve again for the George Brown Huskies. Flat-footed, he gets it up ahead. Cox, Van Allen, McAdams the tip. Nig in the backcourt keeps it alive. Big slam by Youssef. Nice block by McAdams. Van Allen, McAdams whiffed on it. Breesy comes in to save the day, though. But George Brown will get the point out of it. So, unfortunate news there for Loyalists. Breesy did a good job of stepping up when nobody else would. Keeps the play alive, but they're going to end up calling a double hit. Van Allen, McAdams, fans, big hit there. Nice job by Roberts to get it over. Breesy keeps it alive on the Loyalist side of the court. Wickerink can't get it up and over. The net got in the way, and so did Osiesa. And it's now a George Brown 8-4 lead. Well, Ramsey will drop back to serve again for the Huskies, his third straight serve. Van Allen up ahead, Roberts, nice block, Wickerink heaves it up, dropped back by Van Allen, nice tip by Wickerink. Good plays there by the Husky defense. Van Allen up again, Roberts, the big spike, and that's inbounds. No doubt about it there, Josh Roberts hammers it into that far left corner and earns himself and his team a point out of that play, the 5th of the set for Loyalist. Getting set to start out is Wickerink. On this sequence, Wickerink tosses it high, leaps up, and keeps it alive. Nice little play there by Youssef. Loyalist keeps it alive. Good work there by every personnel on the floor for the Lancers. In particular, Van Allen and McAdams. There's a big slam. Now Cox can't save it. And the Huskies make it 9-5. They're back ahead by 4. And OCS will get a chance to serve. Gabe Van Allen, an energy player in this Loyalist team. He was all over the place on that last sequence, just unfortunately couldn't quite keep it alive. Neither could Cox. Tipped out again by McAdams, and it's 10-5 for the Huskies. And timeout will be called here on the Loyalist side. Lancers showcasing good energy. They want to try and pull off the victory here in this set. Want to try and stay alive. But Jody, what kind of things do you think the Lancers need to improve on in that set? They're down by 5 points, so something needs to be fixed.
They just need to push through, I think. They get really hung up on that big point. So like the previous point that just happened, and it was a scramble, 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 and then George Brown put it away, right? They have to just take that, like I say all the time, like a grain of salt and fight for that next point. Because then the more they go in their turtle shell, the more George Brown steps up a little bit. So they just got to stand their ground, stay composed.
Yep, that's right. It's definitely not over yet. It's only over until a team puts up 25 points, or 15 if you're in the 5th set. But the 5th set is still a long ways from the Lancers' mind right now. They just want to try and take it 1 point at a time, as we mentioned. It's a cliche, but it's true. And the Lancers are going to try and get back here in this one.
There's lots of game left in this set, I think, for them to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely, it's can't afford to be giving up and conceding yet. There's a big swap by Wickerink, and there's a big spike there, and nobody could touch it. And it's 10-6 now in favor of George Brown.
That's a huge point after a timeout to come out and
absolutely. Yeah, that's the big thing that the Lancers had an issue with through the first couple sets, was being able to get points off the timeouts. The Huskies were able to get back into the game a little quicker. Here's a hard volley from Ramsey. Up Cox. Nice save by Schretz. Still staying alive. Van Allen drops it. Roberts, big slam, and he ends up juggling it. Wickerink does anyway. And it's 11-6 Huskies now. Now the Lancers haven't used one of their 2 timeouts in this set. Can ill afford to deflate here as the Huskies get a shot, and Youssef with a bad serve. That's going to lead to a point for the Lancers. And while we got a quick moment, I'd like to thank all the film and TV production folks that have come in and done a great job here on these volleyball broadcasts. 2 of them, the women and the men. And they do a great job with Loyalist sports and other sports around the Quinte region, so I'd like to give them a shout out. Bogal will drop back to serve. Big tee up, tipped right on there, and nice slam down by Nig. That's going to be another point for the Huskies, and it's now a 13-7 lead for George Brown. So the Huskies are about halfway to a victory here. They will get Bogal back to serve again. Bogal hammering it, and Roberts got his forearm out there, and that was too hot for him to handle. It wasn't an ace, but it almost could have been. Bogal just hammered it, and Roberts only got a huge chunk of it, but not much. There comes Bogal again. He'll jump up to serve. Nice dig by Bressi. Up off the arm of Stress, and that's going to be a point for Roberts. But it all started with the dig from Joe Breezy to be able to get down low and put all of his muscle into the bottom part of his legs, drive up with force, and keep the ball up in the air, and that eventually leads to a Loyalist point. There's a big tee up from Nig, and that's going to be in, just sliding down the net, so it's 15-8 now. Huskies just 10 points away from their 8th victory of the season. Loyalists trying to survive. There's still lots of time left. There's no real time limit in volleyball. There's the touch. Lifted up towards the net. Big spiking coming from Kumi. Tough play here. They keep it alive, though, and Kumi with a bit of an awkward bounce off his hands there that ball took, and it leads to a point for Loyalist. An unforced point, so to speak, for the Lancers. Gabe Van Allen dropping back to serve again. Nig keeps it up. Kumi fakes the pump. Osiesa gets it on there, and nobody could touch it. That looked to be Van Allen's ball. Wickerink didn't go after it either, and it's now 16-8. So the Huskies get another big-time point. They move step by step closer to another win. Loyalists trying to hold them off. Nathaniel Masson will step in for Perry Kumi on the floor for the Huskies, and he'll go right back to serve. Noticed that quite a bit this afternoon from both sides. Usually you see guys coming out and guys coming off the bench and they go right to serve, which is interesting, putting them right into the line of duty.
It's nerve-wracking, especially when you've been sitting there, right? Your muscles are not as warm as the other ones around you, so.
Yeah, absolutely, and Nathaniel Masson is going to have to loosen up pretty quick here if he wants to get some points for his team. Masson is back there as there's some communication going on at the timekeeper's bench, and now we'll get set to get back to action. Masson leaps in, open palm, Van Allen up there, and there's a nice smash by Wickerink, but Youssef was right there to stand tall to the task, and he drops it in to make it 17-8, and the Huskies are cruising along here right now. Masson will drop back to serve. Ajax native puts it in. Nice save by Breezy. Up now for the smash, and that's good for Alex Cox. That's a 9th point for Loyalist, and Cox will get a chance to serve. And Jody, just maybe if you have a moment, maybe you could talk about Alex Cox and how well he's done this year.
Alex Cox is a really crucial player. When he's really on, he's super on, and he has that right side attack that goes line. And a lot of people have a hard time opening up their body to get that shot. Defensively, he's very inclined. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes either.
Yeah, definitely. He's been a key player for this Loyalist team in this game and this season in total. Here's a big smash incoming. That should be good. No, they kept it alive with a foot. And Loyalist keeps it going as well, as the George Brown bench is going absolutely bananas right now. Here's Cox. Gets it up. Nice touch and nice save by Nig. Up for the left side. Osiesa, great drop there. What a play by Jacob Osiesa. Number 7 in the blue keeps it alive. And again, you got to go back to the play with the foot of Youssef there that kept that play going. And it's unorthodox, but it works. And it's not out of the realm of the rules either.
And it catches the other team off guard, right? They think that ball is going to hit the ground.
Yeah, definitely caught Loyalist a little bit by surprise. There's a nice one punch there by Wickerink. Masson sets up the big spike from Bogal, and he gets it in to make it 20-9. And the Huskies have taken over here in the 4th set after 3 very tight sets. Huskies are catching the Loyalist Lancers a bit on the tired side, perhaps. As Matt Rosa will tag in for Josh Roberts. Loyalist still has a few guys that haven't gotten in the lineup yet. Of course, one guy who hasn't even dressed and can't dress because there's only supposed to be 12 players on the sidelines, as Jody mentioned earlier. Derek Meeks and Kyle Coolin also still standing on the sidelines cheering their team on. Rosa, nice spike there. Good work by the Belleville native to get it back into action again. Matt Rosa, third year.
That's a big point for Rosa coming off the bench there. Good job, Rosa.
Yeah, absolutely. And has he, of course, he's coming off the bench in this game. Has he been mostly a bench player this season, or has he been getting some starts in as well?
With the boys, like all together, they have their set few, like Josh Roberts and Gabe. But it really goes by how well they're playing. Everyone kind of has their off and on days, right? So
yeah, that's right. Yep, absolutely. And Rosa, of course, is a key player coming off the bench because he's able to catch teams off guard with his strong hands and his ability to play as a team. Of course, he's one of the better team players for Loyalists. Of course, everybody is a good team player for the Lancers. But he cheers the team on, then comes into play and does well. There's a tip and a beauty there. Ramsey keeps it alive, though. Tossed up by Youssef up off the net, still alive. Cox has to get it over, and he just does. Youssef, Bogal, Osiesa backing up, and he was at a disadvantage there. That ball was up. It wasn't a great arc for him, and it kind of went almost in behind. Osiesa tried to almost contort his way around to get the hand on that ball, and unfortunately it just wasn't enough. And it's now a 20-12 Huskies lead, so the Lancers staying alive, 8 points down. And again, a much better stretch of play after a tough luck run there at one point. Huskies up by 8, and the Lancers trying to earn their second win of the season. But they're sitting in tough right now, still not out of it just yet though. Jody, we talked about the Lancers and what they need to do to improve, what they need to do to win, but what will it take for the Huskies to pull out a victory with this lead that they have?
I kind of watched the Huskies progress over time, and it started off very serious, and they're very into the game. And as you kind of watch it progress, they're kind of getting a little bit, they're joking around, and they're laughing around with the coach. So I don't think they're taking it as serious as they were at the start. But that happens, right?
Yeah, that's right. You gotta have a certain bit of seriousness. You gotta be loose too, because if you're not loose, if you're all tensed up and you're nervous, then you don't play as well, and that goes for any sport and anything really that you put your work into. You can see the Huskies are still loose. You know they're not out of it yet. They're in the driver's seat still, despite Loyalists catching back some momentum. Cox, the setup, Van Allen, the volley, Rosa rather, the swat. It's going to be blocked. He'll try over on the right side now. Wickerink up for Bogdahl. Big tee up there from Nig, and he slams it into the netting. That makes it a 20-13 game rather. And the Huskies now see their lead whittled down to 7. The Lancers, again, still not out of it yet. Anything can happen. Definitely no deficit is safe, or no lead is safe, rather, I should say. Osiesa, nice slam, and that ball did drop on the floor. It did touch Hayes before his hands got in the way there. So that's the right call. 21-13, the Huskies lead now. Osiesa starting from beyond the line. Up in the air it goes. Here's Rosa. Up and out of bounds. So it's 22-13. The Huskies 3 points away from their 8th win of the season. Osiesa starting out again on the serve. He hammers it over. Breezy gets in the way of Cox there to play that ball. And off the volley there, or off the spike rather, Nig manages to get it in. So a 10-point lead now the Huskies are back to. And they're in control as they try and finish off the Lancers. Osiesa. Up, he'll whack it over. The touch and the spiking coming from Wickerink, and that's in. That's a good ball there. Wickerink picks up Loyalist's 14th point of the game. But George Brown still in a 9-point advantage as Kyle Coolin steps in for the first time in this game. He'll get a chance to serve for Chris Jenkins. Coolin, the native of Tweed, gets it into play. Heaved over from Bogdals. He had his back turned to the net. Staying alive there. Nice play by Masson with one arm to play it. And now it's going to be swatted back into the block by Connor McAdams. And that'll be another point for the Lancers. So it's 23-15 now. Loyalist still not giving up. And a timeout's going to be called here. That was a good set of plays there. They're 2 points away from falling in this game, but you don't see any quitting them. You see the fire in their eyes, and they know it's not over until they hit the George Brown Huskies at 25.
Exactly.
So Garrett May talking with his team over on the left side of the court, and to the right of our broadcast center, it's Chris Jenkins with his team. Loyalist, well, take a look at their roster. They got a lot of guys that are set to return. Kyle Coolin is a first year. Connor McAdams is first. Derek Meeks and Will Sexton also in their first years. Gabe Van Allen in his second. Matt Bridgeland in his second. So is Alex Cox and Josh Roberts. A couple third-year guys as well. Matt Rosa, Dylan Hayes, and Jaden Jones. And in his fifth year is Joe Breesy. So Breesy's about the only guy they're going to lose for sure next year. Possibly could lose Hayes, Jones, and Rosa as well. There's a tip up, big slam up in the air. Good effort by Loyalist to keep it alive. Matt Rosa got his hand on it, just unfortunately couldn't keep it in play. So the Huskies are now down to their game point and set point as well. Gamsawan will go back to serve. He can be a hero for the Huskies if he can pull out this win. Gamsawan hooks it over. Up in the air, Van Allen. Oh, McAdams threw it into the netting, and that will do it for this game. The set is won 25-15 by the Huskies, and the game is won by the boys in the blue, gray, and white as well. 25-15 the score. Loyalist gets a set victory, but they drop it 3-1. And again, a great effort for the Lancers, Jody. Just unfortunately, the fourth set, they looked a little bit tired, and the Huskies had still a lot of energy left in the tank, and George Brown just buried them.
Exactly. I think it's a big part of how well the Huskies do overall, that they have that endurance, maybe I would like to say.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And George Brown is such a solid team too. Loyalists put up a good fight though. They were quite a worthy competitor this afternoon. They were competitive and they were able to push the Huskies to the brink. Unfortunately, they fall in 4 sets. As we'll get set for a player interview with Paul Papadopoulos here momentarily. Oh, nope, I'm just hearing now no player interview, and we'll just wrap up this game. George Brown improving to 8-2 on the season. Loyalists falling to 1-9. And the Lancers moving forward this season, Jody, what would you like to see from them to try and get into a playoff spot and hopefully maybe even earn a provincial spot if they can be a giant killer against teams like this?
A big thing for the boys is they just got to push through, especially like you mentioned in that 4th set, crucial point. They're a very hard-working team. I would love to see them do better than the standings say for them, for sure. They're the most in the gym out of any varsity sport that we have here. It's always filled with volleyball boys. So if anything, maybe a couple spots up, and maybe if they could come and they could kick butt in that crossover game for playoffs, that would be super cool for them.
Yeah, absolutely, and you got to appreciate hard workers like the Loyalist Lancers men's team, and they did a good job. Unfortunately, they couldn't come out with it. They just got to put back in the work, take on the Seneca Sting on Wednesday, and try and earn themselves a victory. You and the women's team also are in action against Seneca. And we'd like to wish you good luck in that, and hopefully you guys can pull out another victory. We'll be rooting for you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Appreciate your time here, Jody, as well. For everybody here, Film and Television Production, we'd like to thank them for all the good work they do. Paul Papadopoulos, Ben Forgy, Eric Howard, our producers, Scott Ruck in the truck, and many others here doing a great job here from Film and Television Production. For everyone here at Loyalist, my name is Brock Ramond. This has been a presentation of FTVP and OCAA men's and women's volleyball right here on the FTVP YouTube channel.